President Putin praised Trump's courageous actions in the assassination attempt, congratulated him on his victory, and said Moscow was ready for dialogue with Washington. "I would like to take this opportunity to congratulate him," Russian President Vladimir Putin said at the Valdai Forum in Sochi on November 7, referring to U.S. President-elect Donald Trump. Putin added that Trump behaved very correctly, courageously, like a real man, during the assassination attempt in July. Trump is expected to take office in January 2025, succeeding Joe Biden and becoming the 47th president of the United States. According to Putin, Trump's comments during the election campaign about ending the war in Ukraine and restoring relations with Russia were worth paying attention to. Trump has said that if he wins a second term, he could bring peace to Ukraine within 24 hours, but has not specified a plan. The Kremlin has welcomed Trump's idea, but said that only time will tell whether the future White House chief will actually act. "I don't know what's going to happen. I have no clue," the Kremlin chief replied when asked about a second Trump administration. For him, this is his last presidential term. What he needs to do is his problem. Trump was the U.S. president from 2017 to 2021. The U.S. Constitution stipulates that a president cannot serve more than 2 terms, regardless of whether they are consecutive. When asked by reporters about the possibility of Trump wanting to meet, President Putin said he was ready to resume contact if the Trump administration wanted to do so, and was ready to negotiate with the U.S. president-elect. Meanwhile, President-elect Trump told NBC News on November 7th that he had spoken to about 70 world leaders since the morning of November 6th, but not Mr. Putin. "I think we will talk," Mr. Trump said. Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov said the same day that President Putin could have a phone call with President-elect Trump before his inauguration on January 20, 2020, but Russia would not be the one to make the call. Mr. Tapp congratulates Mr. Trump and suggests cooperation instead of confrontation. Chinese president sends congratulatory message to Trump on election, calls for U.S.-China harmony, increased dialogue instead of confrontation. President Xi Jinping sent a congratulatory message to President-elect Donald Trump. China Central Television, CCTV, reported today without specifying when the message was sent. Xi told Trump that the two countries must harmonize and strengthen dialogue, properly resolve differences, expand mutually beneficial cooperation, and find the right way to harmony in the new era, which will benefit both countries and the world. President Xi Jinping pointed out that history shows that China and the United States benefit from cooperation and suffer from confrontation, CCTV added. A stable, healthy, and sustainable China-U.S. relationship is beneficial to both countries and in line with the expectations of the international community. In his first message to Trump, since the former president was elected to a second term, the Chinese leader expressed hope that the two sides will uphold the principles of mutual respect, peaceful coexistence, and win-win cooperation. Trump has not commented on the Chinese president's statement. During his campaign, Trump threatened to impose a 60% tariff on all Chinese goods imported into the United States. During his first term, he also launched a trade war with China. Chinese Foreign Ministry spokesman Mao Ning said on November 6 that, "We respect the choice of the American people and congratulate Trump on his election as president." Chinese Vice President Han Zheng also sent a congratulatory message to U.S. Vice President-elect J.D. Vance, according to CCTV. Mr. Trump won the presidential election after winning a series of battleground states, defeating Democratic opponent Kamala Harris. He is the first U.S. president in a century to serve 2 non-consecutive terms. In a speech to supporters in the early morning of November 6th, Mr. Trump declared that he made history. During his presidential campaign, Trump pledged to impose tariffs on imports from China. In addition, the Biden administration has implemented a number of protectionist measures against goods from China. In September, Washington announced a 100% tariff increase on electric vehicles imported from China and a 50% tariff on semiconductors, among other goods. In addition to Mr. Xi, many world leaders also posted messages or called to congratulate Mr. Trump. South Korean President Yoon Suk Yeol said that in his phone call with the U.S. president-elect, the two sides agreed to meet in the near future, possibly this year. In addition to posting a congratulatory message, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky also called Mr. Trump. "I had a great call with President-elect Donald Trump and congratulated him on his resounding historic victory," Zelensky posted on social network X. "We agreed to maintain close dialogue and promote cooperation. Strong and steadfast U.S. leadership is important for the world and a just peace." Will Russia-Ukraine negotiations move to a new stage after Trump's victory? Finnish President Alexander Stubb believes Donald Trump will facilitate a new phase of negotiations between Russia and Ukraine. "I am confident that the peace talks will move to a new phase," Finnish President Alexander Stubb said shortly after the U.S. presidential election ended. Mr. Stubb also proposed to wait for a specific plan from the new U.S. administration for the military conflict between Russia and Ukraine. However, this plan must respect Ukraine's sovereignty. The United States has now begun the process of transferring power to the new administration after all 50 states completed their vote counting and announced the final results. According to the U.S. Federal Election Commission, Republican candidate Donald Trump won with 312 electoral votes, while Democratic candidate Kamala Harris received 226 electoral votes. The electoral colleges of the states are expected to meet on December 17th to cast their official electoral votes to elect candidate Donald Trump as the 47th President of the United States.